Do you understand that real estate is the surest and most reliable way to reach financial freedom, but you can't find any good deals to buy? My name's Gabe. I'm a commercial real estate investor, the host of the Real Estate Investing Club podcast. In the last year, I bought 4 self-storage facilities, did over $400,000 in active income through wholesale fees. And in this course, I'm going to teach you how to find discounted properties off market. If you've spent any time online looking for commercial or residential investments, you understand that the hardest thing about real estate investing is actually finding a good deal that will cash flow. Anything that's on market usually doesn't cash flow. And that's why the single most important skill you can learn is to find those off market properties. I want this course to be as actionable as possible, which is why I set it up as a 14-day challenge. This course is intended for both beginning and intermediate real estate investors who want to gain access to the deeply discounted properties that are only found off market. I'm going to run you through the nuts and bolts of setting up an acquisition system, the best methods of filling your pipeline with off-market properties, and then how to automate that process with virtual assistants. At the end of the 14-day challenge, you should have at least 5 valid commercial or residential leads waiting for your offer. All right, the first thing we need to cover is what is off-market lead generation and why would you consider doing it? So there's basically 2 ways to find deals in all of real estate. You can either go through a broker and find a property that is listed on market, or you can speak directly with the seller off market. And the only way to do that is through off-market lead generation. And really, off-market lead generation it's just it's the act of finding a real estate deal that's not listed with a broker. It's talking directly with the seller. So why would you consider doing this? It is common knowledge that you're going to make most of your money on the purchase. And what that means is if you buy a property that only makes $100,000 a year and you buy it for $10 million, that's not a good deal. That's not going to make you any money. But if you buy that same deal for $10,000, that is a great deal and it's going to make you loads of money. So you really do make your ROI on purchase. However, 95% of all of the deals you see online listed through a broker are not great deals. Current cap rates are in the 5s and 6s. That is not a great return on your money, in my opinion. And so the only way to really, increase your cap rate and get a better deal is to speak directly with the sellers, to negotiate directly with the seller. So that's really why you'd want to do it, is you're going to find better deals off market. Sure, you can find the occasional really good deal through a broker, but the majority of the really good deals that you close, they're going to be found off market by talking directly with the seller. All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of the course, I want to go through an overview and course objectives, what you guys can actually expect to accomplish from doing this. So first, let's go over just an overview of the commercial real estate sales cycle. It's really just a 3-step. You can bucket it into 3 steps. Of course, there's many minor steps within there, but you can think of it as just a 3-step process. First, you're going to be generating the leads, and this is what we're actually going to be focusing our entire course on right here is this first step. That involves setting up your systems, conducting marketing, and doing that initial contact with the seller. After that, you're going to be converting that lead to a contract. And this involves the entire follow-up process, which can last from a few days to over a year. I've had a property close, and I had followed up with them for over a year before anything came of it. And then analyzing the property and offering a letter of intent, negotiating with the seller, and sending the purchase and sale agreement, getting that signed. That is the entire convert to contract process. Once that's done, you're going to go on to the last step, and that is closing the property. This one is sending it to title and escrow and then conducting the actual due diligence phase. There's a lot that goes into due diligence, and I'll be making a course on that soon. And then finally executing a strategy, be it doing wholesale, buying it, flipping it, or just buying it as a rental or burring it even. So again, we're going to be focusing 100% of our effort right here in the generate leads step. And then I'll create more additional courses later for these 2. But right now, all we're looking at is generating leads. Okay, so I want this to be as actionable as possible. There's no point in learning anything if you're not implementing that knowledge. So we want to take action after learning about the lead generation process in commercial real estate. So this is how I have it set up for you guys. It's going to be 2-week, 14-day challenge. Week 1, you're going to be setting up your systems, buying your domain, your website, your call rail number, and then sourcing your data. Week 2 is all going to be about generating leads. You're going to be choosing your marketing method. And again, I'm going to ask you to choose one method. Throughout the course, we're going to go over multiple different types of methods that you can choose. However, when you get started, it's really difficult if you're all over the board trying different methods. So I want you to focus on one method when you go through this course. Choose it and then set it up, start your first campaign, and start filling the pipeline. So that is the quick 14-day challenge. Week 1, we're getting set up. Week 2, we're going to start generating those leads. And the challenge is I want you guys to generate 5 leads by the end of week 2. Because once you get it started, it's going to be a lot easier, and you guys are just going to, fly through. So that's the challenge. Let's get going. The first step to generating off-market leads before you even pick up the phone or talk to a seller is to set up your acquisition systems. Of course, obviously, you can just pick up a phone and start calling people. But what happens is you have all these numbers down on a piece of paper and you just start losing track. You never know when to call somebody back. And so it just gets really chaotic and hectic, and you're just going to start losing deals that way because it's not organized. So there are 3 small systems we have to set up to make this the most efficient possible, and that is your CRM system, your website, and your masking number. 3 simple systems, that's it. Then we can jump in to the fun part, which is actually talking to sellers. So let's start at the beginning, and that is the CRM system. This is the most important one for organization, and it's what keeps everything together. This is where you're going to put all of the information that you have about every single seller, including their name, phone number, what you talked about, when you're going to be contacting them next, that stuff. So there's a bunch of CRM systems out there that you can possibly use. I started with Podio. Podio is a great free option. What I use now is called Monday.com. I'll put a link below if you guys want to deal on that one. And let me just grab it here if I can find it. All right. Here we go. Monday.com. So Monday.com is the CRM system that we use over here. It is a fantastic system, and I would recommend it to anybody. You can see I run pretty much my whole business through Monday. I got my operations over here, my acquisitions, my disposition. Everything that I need is through Monday.com. But what we only care about right now is the acquisitions pipeline, is your sales pipeline. This is our real sales pipeline up here, but I made a clone down here that's cleaned so we can kind of use it for demonstration. So this is what you're going to want to set up, is just one board called the acquisitions, or whatever you want to call it the sales pipeline. And then fill out these columns that you see here. And I'm going to put an Excel in this course section, whatever they call it. And in there, you can download this Excel, and it'll have all these columns for you, so you can just upload it and create your board that way. But the most important columns here is the location, obviously, because the address of the property. The first time you made contact with the seller, the next time you intend to make contact with the seller. And you can see this little bell here that notifies me when the time has come that I need to call them back. This is the most important because you're never going to get the sale on the first time you talk with an individual seller. Usually it's about, I think it's like 5 to 7 is the actual statistic, but I see it to be true. It takes me about 5-ish times of reaching out, talking with the seller before they actually decide to sell their property to me. In fact, I'm doing one right now. It's a seller out in Oklahoma. I've been talking with him for over a year and a half. His property's been in litigation. There's been a bunch of stuff, but I've developed this rapport over the year and a half. Countless times that I've called him once a month, and over that time, he's decided that he does want to sell once he's able to sell, and he'll sell it to me. So the next contact is super important because that tells you when you need to be contacting them next. After that, we got the next step notes. This is just a really easy column. It just tells me what I need to be talking with about on the next call. And so if it's just a check-in, I just put in, check-in on status. So that's what next step notes are for. And then this is all pretty self-explanatory. So you got your seller name, your seller phone, and your seller email. After that, these are all status columns. We use 4 of them. You can make it a little less complicated, but I do deal quality. This is if I think it's a badass deal and it's gonna, we should definitely buy it. The next one is the status, and this might be a little complicated for most people. You can just do hot, warm, cold is fine, but we do, if we close it, hot, extra hot, which is the ones that we're super excited about, warm and cold, and then if it needs data validation. Next one is the stage, and this was the stage that we actually are at. So if we're just in the follow-up stage, if they've given us the input and we're just awaiting, waiting that input to make the offer, if we've made the offer and they've accepted it, if we're actually in contract negotiations, and down the line. So your PSA sent, PSA signed, your escrow's paid, and it's purchased. Then the very last one is just the strategy that we intend to use on this one. So with every property we speak with, our initial strategy is always buy and hold. But along the line, sometimes it changes. Sometimes we'll want to wholesale it. Sometimes we want to refer to a broker. Flipping, we don't use this anymore because we're not in single family, and we intend to buy and hold the properties that we purchase. And then these 2 columns over here, this one is the property type. If you're in one asset class, if you're just dealing with multifamily, just dealing with commercial strip centers, or just single family, you're not going to use that column. We use it because we deal with a whole bunch of different types of asset classes. And finally is how you found that lead. Did it come through a cold call? Did it come through a text marketing, whatever that is? All of these columns over here, this is additional information that I like to capture, but it's kind of not relevant to acquisitions specifically. You can capture it if you want. It is in the Excel that I'll put in this column, or in this section, but it's not necessary. What you really need is all of these columns over here: location, contact, next step, seller information, and the status. So again, this is the Monday. This is your CRM system. This is where you're going to capture all of the information that you get when you talk with the seller, and it's where you're going to put every time you talk with the seller, you're going to be updating it here. So spoke with Joe. He isn't ready to sell yet. Call back in a month. So every time I speak with the seller, I put in a little note here and tells me, what I spoke with them last time, so I can bring that up in conversation. All right, so that is the CRM. Next up, we are going to be talking about the website. Okay, so why have a website if all you're going to be doing is calling sellers? Great question. The main purpose of your website is just to give you authority. When you're talking with sellers, when you're calling, off-market leads, they're going to want to know that they're speaking with someone that they can trust, someone that is actually going to be able to follow through on their words. And the first thing most of them ask for is, hey, can I see your company website? Can I see your website? So again, even if you don't intend to do, off-market marketing online, so like PPC ads, social media ads, stuff like that, you still need a website just to show that you are legitimate. So it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have a crazy, complicated website. You can just use a Wix site if you want, just super basic. But you do need one. What we use is Kartra. I'm going to show you that real quick. If I can find it. There it is. Okay, so this is Kartra, the site. Why I like Kartra is there are so many things you can do with it. There is a ton of stuff. It's a great platform. I would highly recommend it. Again, if you don't want to use Kartra, you can use something super simple like Wix. But here's our website. The important thing about your website is it needs to, first of all, seem legitimate. It needs to be professional. And it needs to just have an about you section, something, and a contact section. Those are the most important things about the company, how they can get in contact with you, and it needs to seem professional. The other things that we like to have is just a process that they understand, what the offering process is like, a fact page, and then this at the very beginning, we like to have a place where we can capture their information. But again, the main point of your website is just to convey that you are a legitimate company that they should be doing business with. So before we get off of the subject of websites, I want to talk about the non-techies. If you don't like tech, I don't really like tech. I'm good at tech, unfortunately, but I don't really like doing it. So if you're like me and you don't like dealing with the technical side of things, just hire it. You can get it super cheap. Go to Fiverr. See, I just clicked in website here, and you got a whole bunch of people that can create a website for you for relatively inexpensive. In fact, we can just do Wix website because those are usually the cheapest. Look at this. This guy can make you a website for $50. So if you don't have a website, don't worry. Get on here. Get this guy to hire you or to make you a website for $50. All you need is something is super cheap, super simple, and you can call it good. So that's it for website. The next one up is the masking numbers. All right, so what is a masking number? A masking number is just a number that people can call, but it doesn't go directly to that number. You can route that number to something else. So why would you need that? Because you don't want to put your own personal number on all the marketing material that you're sending out there. The reason being is if you decide that you want someone else to be taking the calls, say a VA, you can't change that in marketing that's already gone out. So you want to be able to change the direction, change the routing of a call, willy-nilly, however you want, as time flies. And so that is why we use CallRail. CallRail is a great routing software, and we recommend it. So just get a CallRail account. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like $10 or something like that. And then all you want to do is you want to go up to workflow right here. Create a workflow, and let's see, ours, you just do blank, but I'm going to go to ours right here for our acquisitions line. So ours is it's a 3-step process, super simple, but you can get pretty complicated with this stuff. What you really need is just a greeting. The important part of the greeting is that it says this call will be recorded for quality assurance. And the reason is a lot of times you're going to be taking calls, while you're driving, and you don't have a pen handy, you can't take notes. So you want to be able to reference that later on. That's why you have this, so you can record the call and reference it later. So you got your greeting. I'll just play it real quick so you guys can hear it.
Thank you for calling Kaizen Properties. This call will be recorded for quality assurance.
It's a robot voice, so it even works. If that didn't come through the mic, then it just says, thank you for calling Kaizen Properties. This call will be recorded for quality assurance. After that, insert a step and just have it dial your phone. Make sure that it prevents the voicemail automated systems from answering. I usually do about 30 seconds, and then add a step, and if you don't pick up, then it'll just go to voicemail. There's a ton of different steps you can add in here. You can do simulcall, so if you got a bunch of people on the team that you want that you want the call to be routed to, you can do that. Round robin allows them to evenly distribute the calls. Tons of different options. But you do need a call system here. And once you do that, this is the number that you're going to be using. Let's see if I can go to my tracking. So here's our number. That is the number that we put on the marketing material that goes out. And so we can change, wherever that goes at any time we want. And again, I'll put that note in I'll put that link in the course so you guys can get any of these systems. And I think we have deals because we're affiliates for all these guys. So you guys can jump on that. So that rounds it out. Those are the acquisition systems that you need to be set up. First, you need your CRM system. Super important to keep organized to make sure that you're doing the tasks that you need when you need to do them. After that is the website. Really, the only important piece of the website is just authority. You need to seem like you're a legitimate company. And that is why we have the website. We love Kartra. I would highly recommend Kartra because it's super robust. And I'll put the link here down below so you guys can use that. But if you don't want Kartra, use any system out there. Use Wix. It's the cheapest one around. And then get somebody on Fiverr to build that for you. Once that's done, just go get a masking number for CallRail. And that rounds out your acquisition system. And we'll be on to the next section. All right, so the majority of the most effective methods of generating leads off market, the majority of them require data. It's not like, online marketing where you can just flip an ad and leads start coming in. You actually need data to work with in order to start doing your outreach. So the first step in all of this is to find the data. I guess it's not the first step, but it is one of the most important steps is creating a list and finding that data. I'm going to walk you guys through it here real quick. The data that we need, obviously it's pretty simple. Oops, I forgot one right here. You want the property address, the owner phone number, and the owner email. Those are the 4 data points that you want for each property that you're going after. And they're not just out there willy-nilly ready to pick up. So you're going to have to do a little bit of digging. So first, you need to come up with a list of properties. Just what properties are you going to be marketing to? To do this, there's a lot of really easy ways to go out there. There's a bunch of lists out there that you can work with that are pre-made. PropertyRadar.com is a really good source just to come up with your first basic list. I'll show you here, Property Radar. Property Radar. There we go, PropertyRadar.com. It's a really good tool to use just to create your basic list, and they have commercial on there as well. But the best way, if you're really looking at a specific market, is to just hire a VA. A VA, there's tons of VAs that are out there to, and I feel like you've probably found a theme here in the coursework, is that most of this can be done through a VA, and that is super important because it saves your time. So you can go through Upwork or Fiverr, and they can help find a list for you. You can hire a VA to find lists, or you can hire the VA to actually go through an individual city, an individual state, and find the exact address of all of the different properties in there for the property asset type that you're looking for. I recommend starting with Property Radar, just getting a basic list and going from there. And then if you want to get really nitty-gritty into it, if you really want to focus on just one city, hire a VA and start hiring them, or start digging into that data of the individual properties in that metro. All right, so once you have a list of properties that you want to market to, the next step is to find the owner information. This can be a little tricky because a lot of the commercial properties out there are held, or actually most of the commercial properties out there are held in LLCs, and LLCs need to be skip traced individually. They can't be blanket skip traced. So what we like to do is twofold. First, you're going to want to just do a blanket skip trace to see what you can pull out of there. And the best tool that I've found to use is not crypto. Looks like we lost it. Where'd it go? Is that it? I think that's it. Okay. All right. So the best tool that I've found to use is Batch Skip Trace. Batch Skip Trace is really good. It's relatively cheap per lead. And so what you want to do is you want to upload your file, your list of properties that you got from Property Radar or you got from your VA, upload it to Batch Skip Trace, and then they will, let's see if I can just pull up one of the, oh, come on, how do I just go to the standard? Oh, come on. Okay, so the best, see if we can get back to it. All right, I haven't done one recently. There we go. Okay, so you see here I had 4,000 addresses and it cost me $600. That's pretty cheap compared to the amount of data that I'm getting. And so you just upload it and it pops out something like this. That's going to have all of your information for all the different types of addresses, tons of different phone numbers and emails that you can use. And that is where you're going to get most of your information, is through Batch Skip Trace. Once you do that, let me just grab there it is. So once you have put the information through batch, that's a hard one to say, Batch Skip Trace, the next step, if you want to go farther, you can just move on from Batch Skip Trace with that information, but you can dig further into those LLC ones, the hard ones to crack, by hiring a VA to skip trace those for you, because they're going to have to go into each individual county record to figure out the owner. So that's the owner information. The next step is to protect yourself in scrubbing the data. All right, so the last step in creating your list of data is to make sure and scrub it. This is something that not a lot of people do, and it can end them in hot water if you market to people who don't want to be marketed to. So there are 2 steps here that you want to follow. If you plan on doing email marketing, which I would recommend you do because it's super cheap, if you do that, first scrub that list with email list verify. And let me just let me show you that here. Again, it's not the Bitcoin. Where'd it go? I gotta watch out for these. Here we go. All right. So first you want to do email list verify, and really all you do is you upload it, and then it will get rid of anything that's spam, anything that's invalid, all the emails from your list that don't matter. And as I go through this process, remember this entire thing can be done by a VA. I stress the importance of VAs. VAs are crucial to running. To generating off-market leads, because they can do all this stuff that will just drive you insane if you do it all on your own. But this is the next step that they'll have to do, is to do email list verify to make sure that your emails that you send out are valid. After that, you want to run it against the do not contact list, the DNC registry. This is super important because some people are on the DNC registry, and that prohibits you from doing any marketing to them. So to protect you legally, you really want to make sure that you're not marketing to those people. Unfortunately and crazily, you can't just look up the DNC list for free for some reason. There is no way that I have found to scrub against the DNC list for free. Blows my mind that it's not a free thing, but you do have to pay for it. It's really cheap. It's only, however, a fraction of a cent. That is, so it's very cheap to do this, but you do have to pay for it. So my free DNC is the one that I use. There's also I think it's called the DNC project. Let's double check here. The DNC, not the Democratic National Party project. Let's see here. Yes, this is another one. DNC project. Do not call instant scrubbing. So that's really important, is to scrub your data to make sure that it is valid. And that will, at the end of all of this, you will have a list of data that you can begin marketing to. It's going to be, you're going to have all of the properties that you want marketing by getting those lists through Property Radar or through your VA to find a list for you. You're going to have found the owners by using batch skip trace and or using a VA to skip trace the properties for you. And you will have scrubbed the data through email list verify and my free DNC to make sure that you're not marketing to people who don't want to be marketed to. So that's it, and we're going to move on to the next course. All right, so we are into the first method of direct response marketing to generate leads for off-market commercial properties. And this method is the oldie but goodie direct mail. Direct mail is probably the most known type of off-market marketing that investors do out there. It's also one of the most reliable, and it's just a very good tool to have in your tool belt. When you're trying to decide which method to start with, it's a very good one. The unfortunate part is it's a little bit more expensive. So before we get into it, let's just go over the pros and cons here. The pros, it is kind of a set it and forget it, and I'm kind of starting at the bottom and moving my way up. It's a set it and forget it method. So really, I'm going to take you into the tool that we use, but all you have to do is just upload your list that you created earlier, and just click send. And the company that you'll work with, they'll send all the letters, and then you just kind of sit back and you wait for the calls to come in. So it's relatively easy in that sense, in that you just send the letters. The other pro is that it works long after you actually send the initial letter. So most of the calls you get, it's going to come in maybe 1 to 2 weeks after you send that first letter. However, you'll still get calls, 1 month, 2 months, a year later after sending the mail, because people just have that stuff laying around. So if you send, 10,000 letters, you might get a call 1 year down the road from somebody who just happened to have your letter still and said, "Hey, I'm looking to sell now. I just saw your letter, so let's talk." So it's kind of like a long burn. You'll have the fire at the very beginning, but then it'll be a slow burn for a while longer. The last pro is that it is effective with owners who do not respond to texts or calls or who don't go on the internet. And there's actually a lot of them out there. It's surprising how many owners are out there who are not good with technology. Their properties aren't up online or anything like that. And so they just don't trust calls that they don't recognize. They don't trust text messages from numbers they don't recognize. And they just don't want to deal with anything outside of physical mail. And so for these type of owners, this is very effective. It's very effective to get in contact with them. So the cons, as I mentioned, it can be expensive. If you're doing postcards, it's generally around 45 cents per postcard. And for letters, this shouldn't say letters. This should say, or a postcard. This should say letters. For letters, it's about 75 cents per letter. So it can get expensive. If you're sending out, let's just say you do a send of 2,000. I should be able to do this in my head, right? And you send the letters, that is $1,500. So it can get a little expensive. The thing to remember when doing direct marketing is you need to send a mail to each individual owner at least 3 times. So it can get expensive, but you're going to be doing this over a series of months. When you send the letter, you're going to send the first one. And then 4 weeks later, you're going to send another letter. And then 8 weeks after that, you'll send the third letter. And we'll get into that in just a second. But as you can see, it can get expensive. So up next, let's go over the actual tools that we'll be using to send these out. All right, so this is the tool we use to send out direct mail to our owners. So I use Yellow Letter Services. It's really good. They're reliable. Their letters look good and they're relatively cheap. All you have to do is with the list that you created earlier, the data set that you have, you just go here and you upload it and send it. It's really that simple. I know, it shouldn't be, but it is. So you go up here, go to shop and go to letters. You can do a letter or a postcard. I mentioned earlier it can be expensive. So we're on letters right here. Actually, I'll just click it so you guys can see. We'll do professional style letters. So it goes down by quantity. I want you to send at least 1,000 per batch. That'll get you down to the 75-cent mark, and that'll make it a little bit cheaper for you. And if you want to go the postcard route, that's even cheaper. So again, we're probably going to want to get around, if you're doing postcards, do at least 2,500. That'll get you down to the 45 cents per letter. And they look just like this. I'll show you what it looks like when you actually go through the flow. So you get to decide how it looks. I always change the content of the letter. In the letter, all I say is just, hello, my name is, whatever your name is. I work for this company. I'm part of Kaizen Properties. I noticed you had a property at this location. I buy self-storage facilities, and I was wondering if you would be interested in seeing an offer. If you are interested in seeing the offer, give me a call at this number. So it's super simple, and they don't have to think about it. It's just them calling a number. I'm interested in buying your property. If you're interested in seeing an offer, call me. So that is how you do it. You just select it, and then, except for I do create your own. You can use one of their pre-filled ones. I don't recommend it. Do create your own, and then just upload the text that you want in there. I'm going to grab one of their pre-filled ones so we can move forward. Oh, yeah, quantity. So we want to do 2,500 in order to get the 2,501, I believe, actually, in order to get the cheaper price. There we go. All right, you can just choose your font, all that jazz. And then here's where you upload your mailing list. Once you upload the mailing list and you click next and you pay for it, they'll send you a proof. You approve the proof, and the letters will start sending. So that is how you do your send. Use Yellow Letter Services. I'll put the link below. And next up, we'll go through the cadence of direct mail. All right, I mentioned before, direct mail is not a one and done thing. It is a set it and forget it, but it's not one and done. So whenever you do a campaign, when you do a marketing campaign with direct mail, you're going to be sending multiple letters to the same address. So what I like to do, I like to send 3 letters over the course of 3 months. However, there is sometimes I will do 4 letters over the course of 6 months. So this is what the cadence looks like. On the first day, or when you first start the campaign, you'll be sending your first letter. Obviously, that's day 1. Then you're going to wait 30 days. You're going to wait 1 month, and you'll send your next letter. The letter will say the exact same thing that you said before. You're not going to change anything about it. And then you're going to wait an additional 60 days, so this will be on day 90. You'll send your third letter, and on that one, I usually say, I've sent you a few letters. I'm interested. I am interested to see if you'd like to see an offer from us. If you are, please give me a call at this number. So that's the third, and then the last one, I just send the very first letter that these 2 same letters. I keep the same prompt. I'm interested in buying. I saw you owned a property at this address. I'm interested in making you an offer. If you are interested, please give me a call. And that I send on day 180. So you'll be sending 3 or 4, depending upon how hot the list is. If you don't find that you're getting a lot of calls back, then just do 3. But a minimum of 3 letters you'll be sending out to the same one. One other tip that I like to throw in there, I do change it up between types of media that I'm sending out. So the first send, I'll usually do a postcard. Second one, I'll send an actual letter, like the physical letter. The third one, I'll go back to the postcard. And the fourth one, maybe I'll do their windowed letter or a different type of letter. So just change it up as you go to make it varied. And that's direct mail. So it's really effective. I would really recommend trying this if you have the budget for it. All right, we are into the next marketing method, and that is ringless voicemail. Oof. So I have a lot of experience with this one. I've generated a lot of leads. It's also the one that I least recommend, just because, kind of on a more ethical level, I don't think it's the most intrusive type of marketing, in my opinion. So I don't do it any longer. However, I'm still going to cover it here because it is very effective. So. Ringless voicemail, what is it? It's basically just you sending a voicemail that bypasses their phone's ringing system. So basically, if you've ever had your phone up and then all of a sudden you see a voicemail there, but you never saw it ring, that's a ringless voicemail. It goes straight to their voicemail, and they get a voicemail automatically. However, they do see a missed call. And so that is kind of that's the reason why I don't really like it, is because people see these missed calls, they get all worried. Anyways, so we're going to move on. I'm going to start with the cons. As I said, it can be intrusive because people see missed calls. They get worried. They think, and you just start getting calls from everybody and their mother about, you just called me. Why did you call me? So you get a lot of those calls, a lot of confused callers, which means a lot of wasted time. It's also, it has a major problem of influx. So when you send the ringless voicemail, they're all going to go out at once, and you are just going to get bombarded with calls all at once. And that is one of the reasons why I don't like it, is there is a huge influx of calls all at once. It also has a very low response rate in terms of the quality leads that come from it. So as I said, this is not my favorite one, but it is super effective because it's very cheap. So ringless voicemails, I can't remember how much they cost, but it is absurdly cheap compared to other methods of marketing. And so if you do volume, if you get to have a lot of numbers, then it can be very, very effective. And so that's why I decided to include it here. So I'm going to show you the system that I used to use when I did ringless voicemail. It is called, let me bring it up here. Sly Broadcast. So Sly Broadcast, really easy to use. All you got to do is just charge the account. See, I still have stuff left over there. As you can see, it's super, super, super cheap. So $400 for 10,000 messages. That is a lot of messages that you're going to be sending out there. And they only charge for messages that are effective. So if you have a list of 2,500 owners, probably about 40% of those are going to be, have active numbers that are, really actual numbers that you can leave a message to. So not all of them are going to be dinged on this $10,000 limit. It only charges you for the ones that a real voicemail lands in their voicemail box. So you just charge it up there, and then you create a audio message. And in the audio message, mine just says, let me just grab one of these old ones and see if I can play it for you.
Hi, how's it going? My name's Gabe Peterson. I am a self-storage facility owner and operator based out of Washington State up here. I saw you guys' facility online in an area that I'm actually looking to buy, so I thought I would give you a call and see if you may be interested in seeing an offer from me.
All right.
If you are,
So that's it. I just say, hey, my name is Gabe. I own self-storage facilities, and I saw you owned one in the area that I'm looking to buy. So if you're interested in selling, please give me a call. And you can do this for any type of facility. You just record the audio, and then you go back here and you start a campaign. Just campaign name, the caller ID that you want to show up on the call, and this is the number that you're going to be had from your that you created in your CallRail account. So you put that there, you choose your recording, you add in all of the numbers that you're sending to, just the numbers, that's it. And then you set a time and you click submit campaign. When that time comes, it will schedule all of those calls and they'll go out. This is one that I had scheduled a while ago. And then once it goes, you'll see here the campaign results. Usually, I think if I remember right, it was about 20% were 20 to 40% are real. They actually land. And so it's not going to be your full list. So that is Ringless Voicemail at Sly Broadcast. Again, I'll put the link below. Let's go on to the cadence. All right, so Ringless Voicemail. Again, I didn't do it as often as direct mail just because I thought it was a little intrusive. When I was running this, it is very effective. You can do it as much as you want. But again, you only do it twice. I used to do it only twice. So on day one, I'll run a campaign to the numbers, and then I'll run that same campaign, or I'll run a campaign to those same numbers on day 90. So the first message will just say, hey, my name's Gabe. Saw you on a facility. I thought you might be interested in selling. If you're interested in seeing an offer, give me a call. Second message will just be, hey, I just wanted to check in. I sent you a message a while ago. If you are interested in seeing an offer from me, give me a call. So really simple. First message, day 1. Second message, day 90. And that's it. That's your Ringless Voicemail. So next one up, we will go on to the best one, in my opinion, text marketing. All right. We are on to the third and by far my favorite way to do off-market marketing in the commercial space. And that is through text marketing. Yes, this is my favorite one. I love text marketing for a lot of reasons, but mostly because it allows people to respond on their own time so people aren't as annoyed with you. I know it sounds like a small thing, but it really does matter because it means less time that you have to spend weeding through garbage. So let's go through the pros and cons. I'm going to start with the cons. It can be time intensive. You're going to be sending out messages and responding to those. It can be time intensive. However, the good thing, you can push this off to a VA. That's the answer that I have for everything is push it off to a VA. My VA does this. I just send him the list and he'll load it up to my platform. I use Roar. I used to use Lead Sherpa, but now I use Roar. And then he just sends them off. If anybody responds with even the slightest hint that they may be interested in selling, I have him upload it to my CRM system, to Monday that we set up earlier. So that's the cons. It can be time intensive. It also can be a little bit expensive in terms of just the platform itself. Sending texts is generally cheap. So sending a text message is pretty cheap. But platforms like Lead Sherpa cost quite a bit. I think Lead Sherpa costs about $400 a month. Grand scheme of things, that's not a lot, but it adds up. So the pros is the actual send of the. I know I have expensive and cheap on here, but the pros is that the individual send of a text message is cheap. So text marketing itself is cheap, but the platforms tend to cost quite a bit. It is very effective because people respond on their own time. What this means is that you don't have to speak to people who don't own property. Somebody might text you back. They'll be like, F off, or I'll buy your property for $1, or I sell you my property for like $1 billion, whatever it is, whatever their response is. The people who are tire kickers, who are just BSing, you don't have to do anything about that. You just see it. You're like, fuck it, whatever. I don't have to respond. So it's really good because it does. I have pros and cons on both sides here. It is time intensive. However, it saves your time because you're not having to deal with those tire kickers. And it's really effective in that people can respond in their own time, and it's just easy. As I said, I have this all done by my VA. He sends them all out. If somebody responds with any sort of positive, interest in selling their property, I have him upload it to the to my CRM system, and then I will give that owner a call. So that's how that works. Let's move on to the actual platform itself. So here is Lead Sherpa. This is a really, really popular one out there. Again, this costs $400 a month now, so it's a little bit expensive on that end, but the sends themselves are cheap. It is easy in that you just upload it and send. You do have to click each individual send, and that is the downside. But it's a great platform. Other than that, I don't want to talk too poorly about it because it does work very, very well. That's leadsherpa.com. I'll put that link below so you guys can jump on that. And it's just like the other platforms we've used. You just upload your list, create a message, and we'll see if I can find my message here. Where are my messages? Here they are. Create a message, and they're all pretty simple. Let's see if one that has a good response rate. This one has a pretty good response rate, 13%. And you can see the response rates here are pretty low, but that's normal in this type of marketing. So we'll check out these 13%. All I say is, hi, my assistant at the company sent me your info. She said you may own a self-storage facility in the city. Would you be interested in an offer if I sent you one? And they'll respond yes or no. Usually they'll say screw off, but really simple. I'll show you another one here. Let's go to this one. Has 12% response rate, so that's decent. That's almost the same message. It's just, hi, my assistant at whatever company sent me your info. She said you may own a facility in this city. I'd love to make an offer. Would you consider selling? Along the same lines. Simple, to the point. There's no fluff. It's just right to the point. I'd like to buy your property. Are you interested in seeing an offer? So that's that. And then once you finish it, you can just upload it and start sending. And people will respond. When they respond in the positive, you just put it right into your CRM system and you're good to go. So moving on to the cadence. Text marketing is great because you really only need to do it once. Once you do it once and those people respond, you already have the people that are ready to sell. And so you can just upload those to Monday to your CRM. Sometimes I do two sends per batch of data that I get, and I do that over the course of 3 months. So the first send will be on day 1, and then I'll wait 3 months later, and then I'll send again, just to make sure that I get all the potential sellers from that data. So that's it. That is text marketing. In my opinion, again, this is the most effective one. This is the one I really enjoy. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend doing this. Get your data, upload it to Roar, upload it to Lead Sherpa, and just start texting away. All right, we are on to the final versions of off-market lead gen and or methods of off-market lead gen. And these ones I'm all going to bucket together because these ones are the ones that I'm not going to recommend in this bout right now. The 3 ones that I just covered, direct marketing, ringless voicemail, text marketing, those are highly effective, and those are the ones that I would recommend you going forward with if you're just getting into this. These are other methods that are also effective, but they for one reason or another, I'm not going to recommend them be the ones that you start with. However, I'm still going to go over them just so you kind of have a breadth of experience as to what methods are out there. So the first one we have up is cold email marketing. It's a really good method. It's cheap. The issue with cold email marketing is that you have to warm up your email address, and there's a lot of things that you need to do in order to make it so your message actually gets sent, and that's why it can be ineffective. It's because a lot of times you're just going to go straight to spam, but it is relatively cheap, and so that's why I wanted to mention it. I'm just going to show you the platform I use to do that. It's called Mailshake. Email marketing is, or cold email marketing it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just what you think. You're just creating a message and you're sending it on a cadence. And so let me just show you here. Let's see, one of my lists. Here's a self-storage list that I sent out. You can see the stats here. 5,000 emails were sent. We had a 33% engagement rate, and we got 148 leads from it. So that's a decent campaign. You can see the stats there. And so the sequence, I usually do a 5-day send, and I do it every 30 days. So once you set it up, you just kind of click start, and it'll keep going. It's pretty simple. It just says, hey, I saw you own a self-storage facility in this area. I'm looking to purchase a facility. Please give me a call at this number. Again, really simple. Next message, pretty much the same thing. Hey, I'm checking in regarding my last email. If you'd like to see an offer, give me a call. Same thing. Hi, is it a right time to sell? I'd like to make you an offer. If you're ready, give me a call. Third time, the last one just says, hey, if you're not interested, it's all good. I'd love to make you an offer. Give me a call. And that's it. It's just a 1, 2, 3, 4-step sequence. At least this one was. And that's how it works. And so again, it's cheap. It is hard to get it to go into their inbox and not into their spam folder. So that's why I didn't recommend it. But if you are interested in email marketing, this is a good method to go with. Go with Mailshake. Okay, so after email, we have pay-per-click. Online marketing it's a very effective method. It is extremely expensive. And so if you don't know how to do it well, you're going to be wasting money. However, if you do become good at it, it's a very effective method. But the reason that I don't suggest it is just because it's expensive. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my Google Ads account here. So Google Ads it's just what you think. It's pay per click. It's those ads that you see when you which one of these was it? I don't remember. It's the ads you see when you search something online. So it pops you at the very top of the search list. And maybe this isn't going to load for us, which is okay because we don't really need to see it. Okay, so here we are. Let's just see. I haven't done Google Ads in a while because they're just not as effective as other methods of marketing. However, if you do have a good website, Google Ads, pay-per-click ads, they do work. As you can see, we got quite a few clicks, but it costs $1,000 to get that amount of clicks. And so I can't, in good heart, recommend this unless you are very good at marketing already. And that's pretty much all I'm going to go into it for this, just because I can't recommend that one. The next one is social media marketing. That's Facebook ads, stuff like that, TikTok ads, anything like that. Those can be effective. Again, they can be very expensive unless you know what you're doing. So I'm not going to super recommend that one either. And the very final one is bandit signs. Oops, where there it was. There we go. Super cheap signs is what I use. Bandit signs. The reason that I don't recommend bandit signs is that it just takes a long time, and it was frustrating for me, and it kind of pollutes the environment. Not in the sense that if you pick up your signs after a while, they'll be picked up. That's good, but it pollutes the side of the road to the sense that it just makes it kind of ugly. I don't really like bandit signs. A lot of people have a lot of good experience with bandit signs. So if this is the route that you want to go, just go to supercheapsigns.com. All it is you buy one of these signs, you put them into the ground, and then you wait for a week, pick them up, see how many calls you got. Pretty simple. Again, I don't recommend it because I did do it once. It wasn't very effective, and it just, as I said, kind of polluted the environment. Out of this list, if you're going to do any of them, I would highly recommend going with cold email marketing. It's probably the best out of these. These are very effective, pay-per-click and social media. However, they can be expensive if you don't know what you're doing. Bandit signs, not very effective. So that's it. That is all of the methods. Now we're going to kind of button it up and go into the action section. All right, so throughout this entire course, I have mentioned VAs many times, and the reason is it is how I run my business. I love using virtual assistants. It takes a lot of the headache out of actually running your business and allows you kind of to free up your mental space to work on what really matters and what really turns the dial in your favor. So I can't recommend VAs enough. If you guys are interested, I'm going to do a real quick segment on hiring a VA. So where do you actually find VAs? The only two places that I usually use are Fiverr and Upwork. There's a lot of different sources out there, but Fiverr and Upwork, they've worked for me every time, and so I don't have a reason to go out of them. Fiverr I use for kind of smaller one-off tasks. So if I need like a creative done, or I need a process doc made or something like that, a one-off task, I'll go to Fiverr and hire someone from there. But if I'm doing like a recurring, almost like somebody who's on my team, then that is what I use Upwork for. That's what I would recommend hiring a VA for lead gen. It's really simple, and there's a lot of good VAs out there who can help run your business. The only hard part is just getting them onboarded and really getting them in line with what you want them to do. There are VAs who already do this kind of stuff, and you can just kind of hop into their processes. But I recommend, creating your own process documentation, that kind of stuff. So that leads us to the next question. How do you get results from a good VA? How do you get results from VAs? And that is all about documentation. You need to be recording. You need to be documenting exactly what you want the VA to do in order to get results from them. Because if you don't tell them exactly what you want them to do, they're just going to create their own process, and it's not going to be as good as what you're thinking. So again, recording, that's the first step that I do, is I record exactly what I want them to do step by step. I use Zoom. I just click, click, click. This is what I want you to do. Step 2, this is what I want you to do. Step 3, this is what I want you to do. And I send them that Zoom video as an overview. After that, I actually create a process doc, and I have all of the resources in there that they'll be using, including the CRM system, scripts. And let me show you real quick. So like, this is the questionnaire that I send them, and their script just follows this exact process. What's your name? Or you have your phone number. How many units does the facility have? Approximate net rentable storage space. How many are occupied, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they can just go down this list and answer the questions, and then it'll automatically be uploaded to an Excel sheet, which they can then transfer into the CRM system. Okay, so documentation, recording, that's the most important step to get the results. After that, it's all about meeting with your VA every once in a while, just to check in, to make sure that they know that you're still watching, you appreciate them on your team. When you begin, it's once a week. So the first 1 or 2 months, meet with them every single week to make sure they understand the process, to address hiccups as they arise. After that, you can dial it back a bit. I do once a month. I just meet with my VA just to check in, say, hey, you guys are doing great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I usually send them a bonus at that time. So VAs are extremely cheap, just because the difference in countries and what people expect to be paid. Philippines is usually where I hire, because English is one of their main languages there. In fact, I think it is their primary language. So they're good at speaking English. So that's it. Expect issues to happen. Expect problems to arise. That is totally normal. When they do, just be gentle with the VA. Realign them to what they actually should have done, and just say, hey, this is the problem. This is the new process, or the process that you should have followed. Update the documentation, and you can move on from there. So that's it. Again, VAs, lifesavers. Definitely hire them if you guys are so inclined. And look to the next course. All right, that concludes the course on how to find off-market properties in commercial real estate. I hope you guys learned a ton, and I hope you are taking action, because that is all that matters here, is getting out there, getting dirty, and getting those leads coming in. So let's go over what we learned. Again, we are only focused on the first step here. This is the commercial real estate sales cycle. We are generating those leads, and it's going to be generating leads, convert to contract, and close. So the next step, you guys can go on to converting those leads to a contract, and there'll be a course here that you guys can follow up with there. But right now, it's just generating leads. And what you guys learned, you set up your systems, which is you bought your domain, you set up your website, you got your call rail number, and then you source that data so you can start marketing to it. And then in week 2, you guys have generated leads. So you've chosen one marketing method, you set up your first campaign, and then you started filling that pipeline. So if you guys have any questions at all, please reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. I want to hear success stories. I want to hear how this went for you. And I love feedback. So I wish you guys the best. I know you can do it. Just keep powering through, and have a good week.